Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Charles, and I welcome you guys to another episode of the Dreamerspro Show, where we cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, entertainment, and where we give you guys a fresh perspective on things and how we see them. And in today's episode, the topic is Shannon Sharpe turning into the new Stephen A. Smith? So that's the topic I want to get into in today's video. But before we get into that, I want you guys to please make sure you go ahead and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit the notification bell to be notified whenever we drop our content. Also, make sure you check out Dreamerspro Max, a place where you can go and start basketball conversations, chat live during games. We have that linked in the description below. Be sure to check that out. And also make sure you go ahead and click the join button to join the channel to receive loyalty badges from us. So anyway, let me get into this topic here. And this is a topic that I've been thinking on for quite some time now. Now listen, before I get into this topic, it's worth saying we have about 950 or close to 900 plus videos on our channel, 940 videos on our channel. And I know there's a lot of people discovering this channel for the first time. So we've noticed that some people say, oh, you're this thing of, you're tearing down a black man thing is getting kind of old, guys. I just want to throw it out there because, listen, we've done videos on Nick Wright for people that have been here, videos on Nick Wright, Skip Bayless, so many others. Comb through the channel and look. Please don't watch one or two videos and then say, oh, you figure you know somebody. I think that's a mistake that some people are making. Secondly, for those of you that have been following the channel, Kawhi Leonard is my favorite player. Last time I checked, Kawhi Leonard was not a purple man or a green man. When I defend Kawhi Leonard in the media, last time I checked, Kawhi Leonard, again, is not a purple man or a green man. I've defended Kobe Bryant and all of these guys. So I don't get how this whole narrative of you're tearing down black men when I'm supposed to. We need to stop that, especially when it makes no sense. So I just wanted to say that from the onset, so we kind of get that understood before I go into my point, because there's some people, not all, some that seem to be transfixed on this, right? It's weird, to be quite honest with you. I wanted to say that. Now, listen, I've talked about Stephen A. Smith for a plethora of reasons, and I've said to you that Stephen A. Smith has gotten to the point where I've just developed this a healthy disdain for Stephen A. Smith, because I feel like Stephen A. Smith likes to do what my grandmother used to call expensive jokes, right? An expensive joke, in her, the way she explained it is this: whenever you make a joke and it's at the expense of somebody else, like it belittles somebody else or it puts somebody else down, that's an expensive joke. Stephen A. Smith, I've noticed, says things about players like Kawhi Leonard that are not true, but he says it just for the shock value. We just did a video the other day where the media has been throwing out this narrative that Kawhi Leonard is not a good leader, and he's not a leader, he's not there, he's not present. And the guy came on ESPN talking about when the Clippers lost game 2 after Chris Paul was seen FaceTiming his teammates, and they're like, is that something, Mike Wilbon, is that something that Kawhi Leonard, why isn't Stephen A. Smith, but question is, why isn't Kawhi Leonard doing something like that? Why isn't Kawhi Leonard doing? Turned out Kawhi Leonard has been doing that when we played the audio from his coach and his teammates, right? But Stephen A. Smith said that regardless. Now, some people say, well, what if he didn't know? What if he said it and he didn't know? That's an irresponsible thing to do, number one. Number two, it's indefensible. If we, the Dreamerspro here, we're planning on starting our website where we're going to be having articles and writers produce content for us. If you write an article about somebody and it's not true, you don't verify that source, that's a fireable offense. You don't get to say I'm sorry. If the New York Times prints something about the Washington Post that is not true, you can be sued for defamation. So that you saying, or some people say, oh, well, you didn't know, that's inexcusable. Like you can't say you don't know. There have been many people that have been sued for defamation and all of these different things because saying you don't know is not an excuse. So I just wanted to kind of throw that out there. Stephen A. Smith, I feel like there are a bunch of people that are kind of tired of Stephen A. Smith. This includes NBA players, former NBA players. I've listened to so many former players like Kenyon Martin, all of these guys. They can't stand the guy. They're like, listen, if you're going to criticize a player, have at it. Critique his game, critique all of this. But once you start going beyond the game and start getting into personal things about the players and started painting pictures about people, that's where they have an issue, because he said doing things like this stigmatizes players and it ultimately affects their earning power, because when other teams are looking to sign him, these things that you say about players that have that are floating out there in the media, teams are going to take that into consideration and they're going to hold it against some players, because certain players become stigmatized. You've seen players like Kwame Brown come out about Stephen A. Smith and say, Kwame Brown is an example of when this thing goes wrong. The constant labeling, shaming in public, when it goes the wrong way, you create people like Kwame Brown. This is what happens. And I want to get to a larger point here. People that constantly make fun of players beyond their game creates scenarios where Kwame Brown, people like this, like Kwame Brown and these guys, can come out there and just really, you can see Kwame Brown just seems like somebody that was just made fun of for too long and just finally said enough is enough. So it seems like people as a general, NBA players, athletes, the public, me, myself, are just kind of tired of Stephen A. Smith and his labeling. Now, I've noticed that Shannon Sharpe is slowly starting to become the next Stephen A. Smith. And I've made some concessions, and I said, listen, I've been guilty in the past of calling players like Lou Williams, which I've apologized on many occasions for, and I'm going to take this opportunity here to apologize to him again. I should not have called him Lemon Pepper Lou. That was totally unnecessary. It was unnecessary, right? I didn't like what he did in the Orlando bubble by, putting himself first and not his team first and getting caught in a situation where you have to go into a quarantine. All it is, I thought that was the wrong thing to do, and I criticized him for that. But I should not have called him Lemon Pepper Lou, because that's labeling, right? That's labeling, and I'm wrong for that, and I apologize for that. I'm going to apologize again. I should not have said that. Now, on to Shannon Sharpe here. I've noticed that Shannon Sharpe is quickly following in the footsteps of Stephen A. Smith here. What do I mean by this? The constant thing about calling Paul George Pandemic P. Like, enough is enough. The guy, yes, he's not perfect. Yes, he's had some low moments in his career in the playoffs. Granted, every player has. But this thing is going too far. The guy does well. He helps his team get to the conference final, and they're still calling him Pandemic P, Polyester P. Like, listen, that has to stop at a certain point. Like, I get it. You want to make fun of a guy. You want us to crack jokes. It's funny, but at the same time, you're cracking jokes at the expense of somebody else. And I don't think it's right. And I think Shannon Sharpe is going down that same road of Stephen A. Smith. And it's something that he has to be careful of. Now, he's very funny. I think Shannon Sharpe is great on social issues, something I've said for over a year plus now for the newcomers to the channel. I've said this before. But the constant name calling and attacking of Paul George, I think is getting old. Another thing, we saw him going at KD. Everybody knows that KD put up an amazing game and an amazing performance against the Milwaukee Bucks. The only person that was able to criticize him was Shannon Sharpe, maybe because some personal beef that they had between him and KD. Because I think Shannon Sharpe said something about KD that KD did said that KD said something that that KD ultimately didn't say. They had a back and forth. I think Shannon Sharpe ended up blocking KD. I think it was on Twitter or Instagram, and then he took that opportunity to go at KD. Now Shannon Sharpe's whole purpose for that, he said, was because of the things of how hypercritical Skip Bayless has been of LeBron James. And let me get to Skip Bayless, because listen, I think Skip Bayless is the godfather of all of this. I think Skip Bayless is the one that started, if he's not the one that started all of this, he's the one that sure made it popular. Skip Bayless has kind of flown under the radar and has not gotten enough criticism for all of this. Let me get to Skip Bayless for a second, because we've done a video on him in the past where we talk about, exposing Skip Bayless and that. But in this case, I want to get on him for a second, just to be balanced here. Skip Bayless has been the godfather of labeling athletes. He's been the godfather of it. We got to be honest about it. Think of going back to 2010, 2011 with the Chris Bosh thing, calling him Bosh Spice. There was no reason to be calling Chris Bosh Spice. There's no reason for that. You don't need to call that man out of his last name. That's his last name. That's his family's name. He carries that name. His father carries it. His mom, his brothers, sisters, his family member. You don't need to be calling him, but because he's saying, he was playing soft like one of the Spice Girls, Bosh. But I don't think that was necessary, to the point where Chris Bosh ended up coming onto the show and saying, listen, you can criticize my game. You can say I'm playing a finesse game, but you don't need to bring my last name into it. He said, this is my family's name. And I think that's just wrong. That's the one part about Skip Bayless. Another part, let me get to this whole thing about LeBron James, because I got to be fair here. I can't call out Shannon Sharpe for constantly bashing Paul George without calling Skip Bayless out for constantly bashing LeBron James. I've noticed that, listen, Skip Bayless finds every single reason to criticize LeBron. And I think it's just, I think it's gone on for too long. I looked at some of the posts when the Clippers were going through the playoffs and they were, getting certain milestones, and they were like, I think Kawhi Leonard dropped a 40-point game, and he goes, something, LeBron James, eat your heart out. What does this have to do with LeBron? Why are you looking for a reason to get at LeBron? If you notice, I don't sit here and take shots at LeBron. If you guys notice, like I know some Laker fans don't like our content, whatever it is. I haven't spoken about the Lakers really since they've been eliminated from the playoffs because it's over with. It's over with. But Skip Bayless constantly finding a reason to criticize LeBron James. It's like, man, enough is enough. We get it. You don't think he's the GOAT. We get it. We get it. I get it. But enough is enough. You know, liquid, you know, all of these, like, enough is enough. And I think that it's important that I say this because I think Shannon Sharpe is going down that road to Stephen A. Smith. Now, I don't know if this is what it takes to be on these major sports networks, if this is the way you need to conduct yourself by going out there and slandering athletes. I don't know if that's what you need to do to really gain prominence in this industry. But I just think that people are getting tired of it. I think people are getting tired of it. And I also want to call out some basketball fans because I think we kind of pick and choose. I've noticed that some people are willing to support Kwame Brown, but the same people that support Kwame Brown are the same people that will call a Paul George Pandemic P. How does that work? Like, really, how does it work? How does it really work? How do we reconcile those two things? How on the one hand, we can defend Kwame Brown and say we're standing up for Kwame Brown, and on the other hand, attack Paul George. And the justification that people say is, well, he called himself Playoff P, so therefore we have the right to make fun of him. Really? That's your reasoning for it? I just think that we need to be a little bit more balanced about this thing, and I think it's important that I bring this to light. And I think I've done a good enough job in this video being balanced by calling out other actors, including myself. Right? I'm not exempt from any of this. I've been guilty of this, and I just think that it's something that we just need to learn to curtail moving forward. But those are my thoughts and opinions, kind of my raw thoughts on this. So what I want to know from you guys is, do you think, what are your overall thoughts about what I'm saying? Do you think that Shannon Sharpe is kind of going down the same path as Stephen A. Smith? What do you think about the things that I said about Skip Bayless? What do you think about the things that I've said about myself? And what do you think about the whole sports, let's say, news media industry and the way we kind of cover athletes? Do you think that we need to make some adjustments? Whatever you guys think, please leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section below. Again, if you enjoyed the video, be sure to make sure you go ahead and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit the notification bell to be notified whenever we drop our content. Once again, this is Charles here from Dreamerspro. Wishing you guys an amazing day and catch you guys on the next episode.